My dad and I were once avid treasure hunters. One treasure we had enjoyed searching for over the years is Herschel Hill's Lost Cave of Gold, as is recounted in George Thompson's book, Some Dreams Die. The Lost Cave of Gold was reputed to be somewhere in the rugged Black Rock Desert west of Filmore, Utah. Lots of research and several ventures into that region had allowed us to narrow down the search to what we believe to be a 1-mile radius. On one particular Saturday in 1992, my dad and I, along with my friend Robert, discovered what we believed to be the cave in question. It was a narrow slit-like opening just big enough for a thin man to squeeze through. But this cave had become blocked by a huge stone which had apparently broken off long ago to become wedged in the crevice, blocking entry. The obstacle prevented us from penetrating deeper into the cave, where it is said that rotting leather bags of Spanish gold nuggets await the finder. The story of this lost cave of gold is well documented. But since we weren't prepared to bust out the stone that day, we decided to use metal detectors to try and locate any nuggets or artifacts that might be lying about outside the cave. It wasn't long before my dad had found a unique item. It was an old and rusty iron tip, the type commonly used on the bolts of Spanish crossbows during the 19th century. The artifact declared that we were in the right location, and I had surmised that the Spanish miners had been forced to leave the large amount of gold behind due to trouble with the local natives. One old Spanish trail passes through the Black Rock Desert toward the La Salle or Uinta Mountains. Legends among the native tribes recount many battles between the natives and the much-hated Spaniards. The Black Rock Desert, just west of Filmore, Utah, is eerie on the best of days, but nonetheless beautiful. A lava field covers a sizable area while basalt outcrops jut from the cedar, sand and sage landscape, which is dominated by an extinct volcano called Pavan Butte. Rock writings of a people long ago are etched upon some of the outcrops. Some symbols have been interpreted to have been Celtic, or Egyptian or Spanish influence. Encouraged by the find, my dad wandered down to a low spot to do more metal detecting. The low spot beneath the cave looked like the most likely place for a camp in the old days, being the only level area for some distance. Robert and I hiked up to the top of the ridge above the cave to get a better view of the region and look for any markings the Spanish might have left behind. From that vantage point I could see my dad clearly below me. The day had been mild and partly cloudy, but suddenly a cool wind blew into the area. It wasn't surprising since sudden thunderstorms were the norm in the region. I noticed a dust devil starting to form about 100 yards from where my father was metal detecting. The dust devil acted strangely as it seemed to defy the direction of the wind. I could clearly see the dust and sage around my dad blowing northward, but the dust devil was moving south towards him. A moment later it broadened out and encircled him. It wasn't a large dust devil, and I could see through it quite easily, but as it encircled my dad he seemed to disappear altogether. I could see the land and sage on the other side through the whirling dust devil. It was transparent enough, but my dad had vanished. Not even a silhouette. Then, after about 20 seconds had passed, my dad suddenly reappeared. The dust devil abruptly dissipated around him and the air became calm again. I yelled down to ask if he was all right. He gave an affirmative nod. He had finished metal detecting and started back towards the cave. Robert and I walked down to meet him there. As I approached, he had a perplexed look on his face and said, That was strange." "What was strange?" I asked. "The dust devil?" He told me that when the wind had picked up he could hear voices in the wind and what sounded like an old woman laughing. He had looked around for the source but couldn't see anything. In his mind's eye, when he heard the laughing, he thought he imagined an old Paiute woman sitting in the dirt laughing at him. Then the wind stopped and so did the voices. I then told him that I also saw him vanish when the dust devil encircled him and asked him if he had felt like he had vanished, to which he replied that he had not. Everything seemed to look normal from his perspective, but he swore he could hear voices in wind. The rest of the day went normal, and by late afternoon we packed up and left. We made plans to go back to the slit-like cave to break the rock out and retrieve the gold, if any, but life has a way of consuming you, and it was something we never got back around to doing. My dad is now 86 years old, and a knee injury prevents him from engaging in those hobbies we once enjoyed. I don't go treasure hunting anymore either. It just doesn't seem the same without my treasure hunting partner Dad along with me. After all, he had been the one who had intrigued my interest in treasures in my youth with legends like the Lost Dutchman's Mine. Truth be known, it was those times together, and the memories made, that is worth far more than all the gold in Herschel Hill's lost cave. If you've been to the Black Rock Desert near Filmore, Utah, and have experienced strange voices on the wind, or other strange events out there, let me know in the comments.